All right, everybody. Welcome back to episode number 10 of Contractor Truth. I can hardly believe we're here. I am your host, John, the Contractor Growth Guy. And yeah, it is a milestone because this is episode number 10. And now that may not be all that exciting for you the way it is for me because to be completely and perfectly honest with you, this feels a little surreal. When I sat down to record that first episode quite a number of weeks ago, I really didn't know what would happen. In fact, when I launched my Instagram page, the purpose of which was just simply to try to help contractors in the English speaking world, I really didn't know what would happen. I thought I might get, a handful, a few hundred, maybe 1,000 contractors who would be interested in listening and, talk about contracting things. I did not expect what was going to happen next because over the next several weeks and months, I've had conversations with contractors and business owners from New Jersey to Los Angeles, Hawaii, India, Wales, Kenya, Australia, New Zealand, and just about every corner of Canada and the United States. And I have to tell you that in my wildest dreams, I never anticipated that simply talking about sales, communication, customer service, business growth, and contractor life would resonate with people all over the world. And this is the fascinating thing. And this is the thing that I want to bring this to, because whether you're a roofer in Los Angeles, a landscaper in Australia, a builder in New Zealand, or a contractor in Ontario, the challenges the world over are remarkably similar. Finding leads, closing sales, managing employees, handling difficult customers, creating systems, growing profitably, balancing work and family, reducing your stress. No matter where we live, we're all fighting a lot of the same battles. So before we go any further, as I often do on this program, and I hope I never ever forget to do or stop doing, I want to say thank you. Thank you to every one of you who has listened. Thank you to every one of you who has shared this podcast with your contractor friends. Thank you to everyone who follows me on Instagram. Thank you to my members, which I will talk about that in a moment. Thank you to all of you who've sent messages. I've had messages, emails, comments, words of encouragement. It actually has been a very overwhelming journey. And I would say that one of the greatest joys I've experienced through this podcast has been helping people solve problems, improve their small businesses, improve their communication, become more effective leaders, and ultimately creating better lives for themselves and for their families, because that's really what this is all about, okay? There's something incredibly rewarding about helping another business owner avoid a mistake or see an opportunity or improve a sales process or gain confidence in their abilities. Those conversations have fueled my enthusiasm for this. They've been the highlights of this journey. And I have to tell you, we've just launched something in the last week and it is taking off, I would say, again, better than I expected. But there's obviously a need for what we're talking about here. There's obviously a demand for this. And I can see it. Like I said, it's exploding beyond what I ever imagined. And I don't know where this is going to go. So last week, I launched something called Contractor Authority Training. I actually call it the Contractor Authority Training System. The truth is, there's a lot of this I could say this about. I never planned on doing this. It was driven by demand because as my Instagram page grew and as that audience began to grow, as the podcast audience grew, as contractors started reaching out to me, they were asking me for one thing and over and over again. And I say this to you guys, listen to your customers because they will literally tell you what it is they want. And what they wanted was this. They wanted systems, they wanted scripts, they wanted processes, they wanted practical tools they could actually use in the real world to make money tomorrow. They didn't want theory, they didn't want implementation. They wanted to know, what do I say during estimate appointments? They wanted help. How do I qualify leads? Why is it important to qualify leads before wasting time driving all over my region? They wanted better ways to communicate value, to handle objections, follow up with prospects, build trust, and ultimately close more sales and be more profitable. So that's exactly what I built. The Contractor Authority training system is designed specifically for contractors and service businesses. Now, it has a lot of application beyond that, but I have tailored it for you, my audience, okay? So inside it, you're going to find training on estimate appointments, lead qualification, how to communicate with customers, how to follow up, handling objections, building authority, okay? Closing more sales, dealing with difficult situations, and just a lot of practical growth strategies. Everything is built around real-world implementation. I don't want it to be difficult. I want it's going to be work. Everything that is worth doing is work. But it's no fluff. I'm a simple guy. I don't believe in complicated theory. I believe in motivation, but I don't believe in the ridiculous kind of motivation that some people are offering, okay? Just practical strategies that contractors can apply immediately to their business today. And I'm adding new content regularly as the program continues to grow. There are currently 6 training modules. 5 of them are video. One of them is actually a playbook, but it's all included in the membership. So I genuinely believe it offers an incredible, right now especially, an incredible return on investment for contractors who want to improve their communication, who want to close more sales and build stronger business. The link is in the bio on our Instagram page. Anyway, I've talked about what I'm offering, and that is to help you, okay? But with all that said, let's get into the meat of today's episode, because today we're going to talk about 4 things that can dramatically improve both your business and your quality of life. We're going to discuss relationship-based lead generation. I'm going old school. There's 10 million guys running around out there on every social media platform right now proclaiming that they can give you the best generation of leads. Nobody does it the way they do. There are some things that you can do that have nothing to do with online at all. Now, online tools might help you in that, but I want to talk about relationship-based lead generation and why old-fashioned relationships remain one of the most powerful marketing tools that you'll ever have in your business. We're going to talk about proactive selling, how great salespeople, yes, you are a salesperson, how great salespeople often answer objections before they're even raised. We're going to discuss stress. Stay with me, it's all good, okay? Let's be honest, this can be a very, very, very stressful business that we're in. And we're going to talk about some practical ways to reduce that pressure and the importance of doing so. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the importance of working on your business instead of simply working in your business. That's what it means. So grab your coffee, settle in, let's get started. I want to talk first of all about creative lead generation through relationships. This is one of the things I believe is one of the most powerful lead generation strategies in the world. And it's not a fancy newfangled technological marketing tactic. It's not a Facebook ad. It's not Google AdWords. It's not SEO. It's not even direct mail. All of those things can be effective, but the greatest lead generation strategy I've ever seen is relationships. I say this all the time. People buy from people. People buy from people they trust, and people refer people that they trust. Business, well, I don't care if you're running a restaurant, I don't care if you're running a car dealership, if you're a real estate agent, whatever business you are in, even a factory, if you're a manufacturer, whatever business, and this is certainly true of contracting, at its core, it's all about relationships. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to one of my heroes here, and I highly recommend his programs. I don't very often do this because usually if I give a shout out to somebody else, it is A, someone I believe in, or B, someone who is paying me to say it, and both of those things must be true. However, I'm not getting paid to say what I'm about to tell you. The late, great Zig Ziglar, in my view, is probably the best sales trainer. He's certainly the one that was most formative in my career, but he has instilled in me through his training one of the most powerful business principles that I've ever encountered. And a couple of years ago, I actually went to my local sign shop and I got a sign made up. It's not just a sign. It's attractive enough that I hang it in my office. It's a quote from Zig Ziglar, and it says this. This was kind of his entire training system was built around this concept. Now, I want you to keep in mind that what I'm about to give you is not a strategy, it's a philosophy. Now, the difference is important. This is what he said. You can have everything in life that you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. Think about that for a moment. Most people approach things like sales and networking, business relationships by asking this: what can I get out of this? What can they buy? Who do they know? Can they send me referrals? Can they become a customer? Can they help me grow my business? And I get it. Those things aren't wrong. But I think we're starting at the wrong place. Because the better question is this: how can I help them? That simple shift changes absolutely everything. And we need to have a mindset shift about this. When I meet someone, I'm constantly looking for opportunities to help, not myself, but to help them succeed. Look for their benefit, for their good, for their blessing. Can I introduce them to someone that's going to grow their business? Can I connect them with someone who's going to help them? Can I send them a lead? Can I recommend their services to somebody? Can I help them solve a problem? Can I encourage them? Can I point them toward an opportunity? What I've discovered is that when you become genuinely invested in helping other people win, incredible things begin to happen. People remember you. Of course they do. People trust you. People think about you. People talk about you when opportunities arise, not because you're the best salesperson in town, but because you've become valuable to them. You've shown a vested interest in their good. Now, over the years, I would say I have failed at this majorly, but I would have to say that looking back, most of my best business opportunities have come through the relationships that had nothing to do with selling. I could go down the list. I could talk about insurance professionals, bankers, lenders, mortgage brokers, realtors, suppliers, other contractors, relationships through church or community involvement, and just people I get to know in the community. And again, I've failed at this big time because I haven't invested nearly as much time as I should. But most contractors make the mistake of viewing everyone through the lens of, can this person buy from me? That's far too narrow. The mortgage broker may never buy a roof from you. The realtor may never buy insulation from you. That insurance company may never hire your company, but they all know people. They hear about problems. They hear about conversations. They encounter opportunities. When your name comes up, what do you want them to think? Do you want them to think, that's the contractor who's always trying to sell me something? Do you want them to think, he's a great guy? That is someone who helped me. That's someone I really, really trust. They're a selfless person, give you the shirt off their back. That guy has got integrity. He's honest. He's got good character. Those are very different impressions. One of the biggest mistakes business owners make is disappearing between transactions. This is another one. They complete a project, collect a check, and then they vanish. Then 6 months later, they're wondering where the referrals went. Those relationships require maintenance, not manipulation, maintenance, staying visible, follow-up calls, text messages, take coffee to them, grab lunch with them, comment on their social media posts, congratulate them when they succeed at something, check in if you know they're going through a difficult season. This is a very important one. If you hear, of a death in the family or something, reach out, not because you're trying to get, but because you care about them. They're people that have blessed your life. Bless them in return. Send them opportunities when they come across your desk. None of this is complicated. Most people dramatically underestimate the value of simply staying in touch in the right way. And here's an important point. When you reach out, don't always be selling. In fact, some of the time you shouldn't be at all. Sometimes you simply send a text saying, hey, I was just thinking about you the other day. How's business? Or, hey, I met someone today who might be a good contact for you. Or, I saw this opportunity and thought of you. Maybe you'd be interested in it. People can tell the difference between genuine interest and disguised salesmanship. So again, make this a philosophy, not just a strategy, because it's selfish as a strategy. But if you make it a philosophy, it builds trust. A strategy, people smell that, and it builds resistance. I often think that relationship building is like planting trees. You don't plant an oak tree today and expect shade tomorrow. You plant it, you nurture it, you water it, you give it time. The same is true in relationships and business. The relationships you build today may produce opportunities months or even years from now. But when they do, the return can be extraordinary. It might take a while. If you're looking for more leads, more opportunities, more referrals, start by asking yourself a different question. Not what can I sell, but how can I help? Because that is, in my mind, one of the best lead generation strategies in the world. Become genuinely valuable to the people around you. Care about them. Help them. Look out for their best interests. When you become known as that person, opportunities will find you. They just will. All right. Enough about that. Let's move into this next segment here. I want to move on to something that's probably generated more questions from contractors than any other topic I've discussed over the years. And that's sales, okay? Now, I realize that I'm talking to some of you, and you have this, like you get your back up almost. Is that too strong a way of saying it? You kind of resist the idea that you're a salesperson. You don't consider yourself a salesperson. So let me remind you of something. If you own a business, you're in sales. If you run estimates, you're in sales. If you answer your phone, you're in sales. I feel like Jeff Foxworthy. If you sit across the kitchen table from a homeowner, you're in sales. You may not carry the title of salesperson. That may not be what's written on your business card, but you are absolutely in the business of helping people make buying decisions. And here's one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last 30 years. The sale doesn't happen when you ask for the business. It starts long before that. Every interaction is moving the customer toward a buying decision. Everything matters. The first phone call matters. The first text message matters. The first email matters. The speed of your response matters. The way you answer questions matters. The way you show up to the estimate. That appointment itself matters. The follow-up matters. Everything is contributing to the customer's overall impression of you and your company. Many contractors view the sale as a single event. We have to look at it as a process. It is the process of building confidence. It's the process of building trust. It's a process of reducing uncertainty. A process of helping the customer become comfortable moving forward. Now, before we go any further, I just want to say this. Why would you want to rush that process? Slow it down and do it right. But one of the most effective things you can do in sales is to prevent objections before they ever happen. They will always happen, but prevent as many of them as you possibly can before they happen. Because the objections that you get in your business in selling are often the same. You could probably narrow it down to between 5 and 10 objections, and that's it. Rarely do you come across new ones after a while. Most contractors spend all their energy learning how to overcome objections. And I teach overcoming objections. I have that's part of the contractor authority training because it does come up. But I think if that's all you're doing is focusing on overcoming objections, I think it's the wrong approach. I would rather prevent them before they come up. Like I said, you won't ever prevent all of them. It's not possible. But let's start with the most common objection of all. Price. How many times have you heard your price is higher? We got a cheaper quote from another contractor. Can you do any better on that? So instead of waiting for that objection, address it proactively. One of the things I often teach contractors is to say something like this. One thing I'll tell you right now is we're probably not going to be the cheapest quote you receive. Now, some of you hear that and you think you're hurting yourself. You're not. You're positioning yourself. You're preparing the customer. You're creating honesty. And then you explain why. Maybe it's because you communicate better. Maybe it's because you use better materials. Maybe your crews are more experienced. Maybe you offer stronger warranties, or you're more organized, or you're simply more professional. The point is, you're addressing the objection before the customer raises it. Now, let's talk about trust. Trust is often the real objection hiding behind that price objection. Okay? People don't mind paying more when they trust the person they're buying from. By the way, this whole thing about I'm gonna mock some of you in my audience right now. You don't understand. It's all about price. And all that matters is price. Price. It's all that matters. Let's stop and think about that. Nobody cares about anything but the lowest price. Is that true? Can you tell me why Toyota is the number one automotive manufacturer in the world if it's all about price? They're not the cheapest. Not even close. Good luck, by the way, good luck finding a Toyota right now, a new Toyota. You'll wait almost a year in certain markets to get the Toyota that you want. Why is it the most popular? You know why? Because they offer value. It is not, don't fall into this trap that it's all about price. It is never all about price. That's another topic for another day. But I would say this, that when people say price, that's not really what they mean. A lot of times they're talking about how much they trust you and how much they value what you're offering. So what can you do? You can provide references early on, share reviews, show photos of previous work, communicate clearly, respond quickly, dress professionally, arrive on time, follow through on even small promises. Trust isn't built with one big thing. It's built through 100 small things. That's true in again, we're back to talking about relationships. Every interaction either increases trust or decreases it. Timing is another issue. A common objection. We need to think about it. Sometimes that's legitimate, sometimes it isn't. And many timing objections can be addressed early in the conversation. You can ask a question like this. Have you spoken with everyone who needs to be involved in the decision? Or are there any specific timelines you're trying to meet? Is there anything that might prevent you from moving forward if everything else looks good? Those conversations uncover obstacles before they become roadblocks. One of my favorite tools in the sales process, by the way, is the trial close. And we talk a lot about this in Contractor Authority. A trial close isn't pressure. It's clarity. It's simply checking the customer's temperature. It's a little bit more than that, but it's doing that before you get the final decision, okay? The trial close goes like this. If we can make the scope and budget work, are you prepared to move forward today? Okay, that's a trial close. And there's a lot of different trial closes that I teach in the Contractor Authority program, but that gives you the idea. Those questions are powerful because they not only, you'd love to hear a yes out of that, but more often than not, what they actually do is they uncover hidden objections. Maybe they need to speak with a spouse. Maybe they have financing concerns. Maybe they're waiting on another quote. Maybe there's something bothering them that they haven't yet mentioned. You haven't maybe stopped talking enough to listen to what they have to say or given them an opportunity. The trial close brings those issues into the open while there's still time to address them. Now let's talk about one of the common, I've already alluded to this, most common mistakes that we as contractors make during sales appointments. We talk too much. This is probably the biggest issue that we have, and I would stand at the first of ranks of the offenders on this one. Most contractors think the person who talks the most wins, and actually the opposite is usually true, because the best salespeople in contracting world ask questions, they listen, they dig deeper, they seek to understand. The customer should be talking more than you are. Second, contractors often sell features instead of outcomes. Customers don't buy shingles, they buy peace of mind knowing that rain and snow is not going to leak through their roof and drip on their bedspread. Okay, they don't buy insulation, they buy comfort and energy savings. Customers don't buy a basement renovation, they buy extra living space, more enjoyment, increased home value. People buy outcomes, solutions, feelings. Don't get stuck talking only about features. And third, many contractors get defensive about price. Never, never, never apologize for your price. Never act embarrassed by your price. And never become defensive about your price. If your price is fair and your value is real, the best thing you can do is stand confidently behind it. Obviously, price is simply one part of the conversation. Now, many contractors also fail to ask enough questions. The better your questions, the better your sales process. And then many contractors don't listen to the answer. They're so busy preparing for their next answer that they miss what the customer is actually saying. Customer will often tell you exactly how to sell them if you're willing to listen carefully enough. So here's the big takeaway. Stop thinking about closing as something that happens at the end. The entire sales process is leading toward a decision. Every conversation, text, email, every estimate, every follow-up, every question, every impression, all of it matters. That's why I believe one of the most important truths in sales is this. The best salespeople don't overcome objections. They're constantly preventing them. Now, we're going to shift gears a little bit here in this next segment. I don't think I'd have any disagreement from anybody in my audience on this statement that I'm about to make, that we are in a stressful business. I mean, it's high stress. We're not air traffic controller level, but some days it feels like we're landing planes at JFK. Business ownership on its own is stressful. Contracting is stressful. Leadership, because you're in several leadership roles in this business, it's stressful. If we're being honest, most contractors carry a tremendous amount of pressure that a lot of people never ever see. And I know this from personal experience, and I'm not going to go into personal experience here, but you can trust me when I say this. I know what I'm talking about. The customer sees the finished product. They don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see the payroll concerns. They don't see the cash flow challenges. They don't see the phone calls, the employee issues, supplier issues, scheduling headaches, surprises on projects, and all the other things that keep business owners awake at night. When you're running a contracting business, it feels like everyone is pulling at you at the same time. You got employees, customers, suppliers, and you got family. There's friend, your social group and so on. Somehow you're supposed to hold all this together. And I speak with contractors all over the world every week. And one thing that is consistent no matter where they live, the stress is real. It is. The payroll is stressful. Man, employees, human resources side of this, we're in a very people-centered business. It's extremely stressful. Cash flow issues. A lot of people don't realize just how close you can be sometimes. Customers can be stressful. Scheduling is stressful. Supply chain issues, remember COVID, but we still have those from time to time. And then you got a life outside of this. This is just work. You got family responsibilities, marriage, kids. There's economic uncertainty. We're very much affected by economic things, interest rates, market changes, real estate markets, consumer confidence, workload change. Business owners live with uncertainty every day. The problem is that many contractors have become so accustomed to stress that we begin to think it's normal. And it's killing you. It's killing you. What's even worse to me is I meet contractors and they begin to wear it as a badge of honor. They think being stressed means that they're working hard. They think being overwhelmed means that's a sign of success, but it's not a trophy. This isn't some medal to wear around your neck, because burnout isn't a business strategy. And burnout's a real thing. I know what I'm talking about. One of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years, if you don't intentionally create margin in your life, your business will consume every available minute. I'm going to tell you a little tale out of school here. I told my wife just last week, see, I love what I do, and I work very, very hard at it. My family would be the first to stand behind that statement. I work very hard. I actually told my wife that we need to make plans at least 2 evenings a week. And social plans, whatever. We need to make plans, have someone over for supper, spend an evening with friends. We need to make plans a couple nights a week. This is the reason. Because if we don't, I will work. Because I love it. But it can burn you out. And the problem is, even if you're enjoying what you do, you have to be careful because it sneaks up on you. It is stress, even if you're enjoying it. See, there's always going to be another estimate, another customer, another problem, another phone call, another email. The work never ends. And that's why one of the most practical things that I can recommend to you guys right now is to schedule personal time. I mean, actually schedule it. Say, no, I am not working Saturday morning. And treat it like an appointment. Put it on your calendar. If you say stupid things like, I'll slow down, I'll relax rather when things slow down, it will never happen. Contractors are notorious more than anybody I know, and this is true across several industries, but it's certainly true here. Contractors are notorious for believing that they'll take time off someday. Someday becomes next month becomes next year. Next thing you know, 10 years have passed, and you've taken 5 years off your life because of the stress. You've never released the pressure valve. Another thing that has helped me tremendously is exercise. Now, if you watch my videos, you know that I am not an athlete by any means, and I don't have an amazing physique. I'm talking about regular movement, walking, getting outside. You say, oh, I work outside all the time. No, I mean the kind where you turn your mind off and go for a walk. Do some weight training. Go to the gym. Do something physical. Schedule time to do this. The human body wasn't designed to sit in a truck, at a desk, stare at a phone, and carry stress 24 hours a day. Physical movement changes your mental state. Some of the best ideas, by the way, that I've had in business have come while I'm walking, and I try and walk every day. Some of my greatest moments of clarity have happened away from my desk. Movement is medicine. If you're carrying a lot of stress right now, I encourage you to start right there. Go for a walk. Schedule it. Then do it again. Let's talk about family. One of the mistakes many entrepreneurs make is confusing physical presence with actual presence. You can be sitting in your living room while mentally being somewhere else. I struggle with this, guys. It's real. I run a business where a lot of my work can be done on a very small handheld device. I can sit in my living room chair while I'm watching TV with the family in an evening and be a million miles away having a conversation with an HVAC guy in Australia, okay? You can be at dinner while you're thinking about tomorrow's schedule. You can be at a child's event while you're checking emails every 5 minutes. Being present means being present. When you're with your spouse, be with your spouse. When you're with your children, I'm preaching to myself right now, okay? Physician, heal thyself. I am preaching to myself. When you're having dinner, have dinner. And yes, schedule dinner. Your family deserves more than what's left over after the business gets finished, because if you don't take care of that, you're going to have a lot more stress in your life. The stress of marriage problems and family problems and so on. I'm talking about balance. You see, the truth is you'll never get your business finished. There will always be more work. Another thing I strongly encourage is maintaining friendships outside your industry. It's actually really healthy because it gets you out of your world. One of my best friends is a police officer. Another one of my best friends is a nurse. Okay, my dad was a teacher, and I'm close to my dad, and I can talk to my dad, and I can talk to him about what I'm doing at work. But our relationship goes beyond that, so I can get away from my business. It's good to have conversations that don't have anything to do with roofing, drywall, landscaping, renovations, sales, or business at all. Sometimes you need friends just to, make you laugh, like belly laugh. Friends who remind you that life is bigger than work. Friends who keep you grounded. And I don't know, this is always a risky area, but I'm going to go there. I want to talk about faith. Whether you're a person of faith or not, one thing is certain: your perspective matters. Putting things in their place. For me personally, my faith in Jesus Christ has been one of the greatest sources of strength during difficult seasons. Faith reminds me that my identity is not my business, and that's a great perspective to have. Faith reminds me that my worth is not determined by how much money's in the bank, and that is a great perspective to have. Faith also reminds me to be thankful for what I have. It reminds me to pray. It reminds me that I don't control everything. And for me, that is a very comforting realization. I get it if you say that's not your cup of tea, and I'm not here to talk about that. But business owners are carrying burdens they were never meant to carry alone. You need friends, family, and faith, whatever that looks like in your life. I plead with you for balance. There is peace that comes from knowing that, from doing your best, being diligent, being responsible, and then leave the results, okay? You can only control so much. At some point, you have to let go of what you can't control. One thing I've observed over the years is that many business owners don't actually fail. They burn out. The business survives, the owner doesn't. His health deteriorates. Her marriage suffers. Their friendships disappear. The joy of life, the joie de vivre, as the French would say, it's gone. The enthusiasm the energy is gone. Maybe I'm talking to you and you're a young contractor. Set your course now. Eventually they wonder whether the success was worth the price they paid. And that's not a question you want to ask later on in life. So let me leave you with this thought. Building a bigger business is pointless if you lose your health, your family, and your peace in the process. Success is more than money, and it should improve your life, not just from a financial perspective, but in a holistic way. It shouldn't destroy it. And if your business is creating constant stress, constant anxiety, constant exhaustion, it may be time to step back, reassess, and make some changes. And I'm just going to say this, a lot of what I talk about has this end result in view: quality of life. It's not just about having a successful business. It's about having a successful life, which goes beyond, yes, business is a big part of it, but it goes beyond that. Okay, I feel like I've preached to you for a while there. I hope you'll take that in the spirit in which it's meant. I want to talk about another aspect of balance here in our final segment of today's show. And this is something that I was struck with a number of years ago. We were able to make a shift in our business when my partner joined me and started to take a lot of the load. Some of you are on the tools, which means you're on the job. You're out there, you got the hammer and saw in your hand, or you've got, whatever it is, the soldering gun in your hand. Whatever your tool is, you're on it. And I want to talk about this very, very important thing that every contractor comes across, and it is the idea of not just working in your business, but working on your business. This is a lesson I'm still learning myself. Many contractors spend their entire careers working in their business, but very little time working on their business. And I call this the contractor trap. It starts innocently enough. You launch a business, you get busy, you get busier, the phone starts ringing, work starts coming in, you add some equipment, the business grows. Before you know it, you've become completely consumed by the daily operation. You're estimating, installing, managing crews, solving customer problems, answering calls, handling emergencies, dealing with suppliers, putting out fires. At the end of the day, you're exhausted. The problem is that while you're busy running the business, nobody is improving the business incrementally day by day. You're stuck. So let me explain the difference. Working in the business means you're doing the work. You're installing, running service calls, you're quoting jobs, you're delivering materials, you're supervising, you know the drill. There's nothing wrong with any of that. In fact, it's necessary. Every business, every contracting business needs people doing the work. The problem occurs when that's all you ever do. Working on the business is different. It means improving the machine. It's marketing. It's creating systems. It's training employees. It's hiring the right people. It's improving follow-up processes. It's reviewing financial performance. It's planning for growth. It's creating SOPs, standard operating procedures. It's identifying bottlenecks in your business. It's solving recurring problems permanently instead of solving them over and over again. That's really what a system does. Most contractors tell themselves they'll work on the business when they have more time. I think somewhere along the line we've talked about this before. The problem is that more time never arrives. In fact, the busier your business becomes, the less likely it is that you'll naturally find time to improve it. That's why it has to be intentional. One of the things I see repeatedly is business owners solving the same problems year after year after year. The same customer complaints, the same communication breakdowns, the same scheduling issues, the same employee frustrations, same paperwork problems, same cash flow challenges year after year after year. And often the reason is very, very simple. They've never stopped long enough to build a better system. Now, a system won't solve. Now, let me just say this. I hated taking equipment down, to downtime because it needed maintenance. Because it's like, man, we got jobs to do. We got to get out there and do that. I can't afford to have this down. But you know something? It's like the carpenter who's got a dull saw, right? He says, man, I can't afford the time to stop and sharpen my saw. But what he doesn't realize is he's losing 50% of his efficiency because he's working with a dull saw. And he continues to argue with himself and say, no, but I don't have time to stop and sharpen the saw. You don't have time to not sharpen the saw. That's costing you far more than taking that hour out of your day to sharpen the saw. So systems are another way of sharpening your saw. Now, a system won't solve every problem, but systems dramatically reduce the chaos in your business. And it's expensive. It costs time, money, stress, opportunities. The businesses that scale successfully or grow successfully are usually not the business with the hardest working owners, meaning the guys who are out on the crews, down in the dirt, doing the work. They're the businesses with the best systems where the owner has said, hey, I need a repeatable way of doing the same processes over and over and over again. Now think about that for a moment. Most business owners try to solve growth by working harder. There comes a point where working harder isn't the answer. You have to work smarter, more efficiently. Improving systems becomes the answer. Delegating is the answer. Training becomes the answer. Creating repeatable processes, that's the answer. One of the most valuable questions you can ask yourself is, hey, if I disappeared for 30 days, what would break? That's a revealing question. Would estimates stop? Would follow-up stop? Scheduling stop? Would communication stop? Would collection stop? Would the entire company grind to a halt? If so, you don't really have a business. It's a job with employees. A healthy business becomes less dependent on the owner over time, not more dependent. Now, before anyone misunderstands me, I'm not suggesting get lazy, stop working hard. Hard work matters. Hard work always matters. But hard work without systems eventually reaches a ceiling. Look at this is the thing about the service business. We only have so many hours in a week. You can only work 100. You only have 168 hours. I don't suggest you work all 168. You can only answer so many calls. You only have so many hours in a day. You can only solve so many problems personally. Eventually, the business must become more efficient. Eventually, systems must improve. The business has to mature. Here's my challenge for you this week. Set aside one uninterrupted hour. Just 1 hour. Turn off the phone. Close the laptop if necessary. Get away from distractions. And spend 1 hour working on your business. If that requires the laptop and the phone, that's fine. But stop answering the emails and the texts that are coming in for that hour, okay? Work on your business, not in it. Ask yourself a few simple questions. Maybe take yourself out for coffee and ask this, hey, what is it that's slowing us down? What keeps getting missed? What problems keep recurring? What causes me recurring stress? What problems seem to be happening over and over again? And basically, what could I systemize to make that easier? What could be delegated? I'm going to give you one right now. I spend hours every week answering the same questions that get thrown at me on our Instagram account about things. And so you know what I decided to do? And actually, I'm going to be doing this very shortly. Probably by the time this episode is live, I'll have this done. I'm going to answer those questions by creating videos. This will be the only way for a while that I use our YouTube channel, because right now there's no content on it, to create videos to answer that. So when someone asks me that question, rather than spending an hour with them each time, I send them a link to the video. That's a system. Now I can do that every time someone asks me, what is a system? I'll have a video that says, here, watch this. This is what a system is. And I send them the link. And I don't have to spend it. And you know what? I'm not giving up other opportunities to sit and answer. Now, it's valuable. I believe in answering the questions of my audience. I believe in giving that kind of attention. You have to build systems. So that's one example of a system that I'm trying to implement here that's going to make my business more efficient. So take that hour. You'd be surprised how much clarity comes from a single focused hour. 1 hour of strategic thinking can save hundreds of hours of frustration later. So I'll leave you with this thought. The business you're frustrated with today is usually the business you've accidentally designed. The good news is this. Let's reverse engineer this. If you've designed it, you can redesign it. You can improve it. You can simplify it. You can strengthen it. Every small improvement you make today creates a better business for you tomorrow. So as we wrap up today's episode, let's review quickly what we've talked about. We started about discussing relationship, lead generation. We talked about proactive selling, preventing objections before they happen. We talked a lot about stress reduction, the importance of that. And then finally, we talked about working on your business instead of working in it. There's a common thread running through today's episode, and it's this. Success is not the result of one big breakthrough. 99% of the time, it's the result of doing the right things consistently over a long period of time. Daily working at building relationships, daily working at serving people, daily working at improving systems, daily communicating effectively, daily management of stress, continuing to learn and grow. Those things don't sound exciting. They don't sound cool. You know, nobody does a social media post about the fact that you went for a walk. Big whoop, right? Well, maybe people do. I don't know, but it doesn't float my boat. But those incremental small things are so critical, not just to your business, but to your success in life. Those are often the differences between a business that survives and a business that thrives. So before we finish, I want to leave you with a simple challenge for this week. I want you to help 3 people this week. Not because you're trying to get a referral, not because you're hoping for a sale, not because you're looking for some immediate return. Simply do it because it's the right thing to do. Introduce one contractor to another one where you're not going to get any benefit out of it. Share an opportunity with someone. Offer some free advice to someone that you don't see anything coming back to you. That's fine. Connect someone with a resource they need. Simply, maybe just encourage someone. You come across someone who's having a bad day, stop. Take 5 moments. Instill them and put within them some hope, okay? Help 3 people. And you know what? If you get really excited about it, help 33 people. I don't want you to limit it. And see what happens. The first thing, I'm going to tell you ahead of time what's going to happen. It's going to help your psyche. It's going to help your mental health. But you'll be surprised that the impact of what that one simple habit can have on your life, your business, your relationships, and most of all, your perspective. And one final thought. I've seen this, not just in the contracting world, but I've seen it in life in general. Some of you guys that are running out there right now, you're the flashiest contractor in town, and you're full of bluster and you're loud and you're in everybody's face and you got the latest, greatest everything. I've watched contractors for 30 years. Those are not the contractors who win long term most of the time. Most of the time, the contractors that win are the ones that are consistent in the small things. Those are the people who build lasting businesses. Those are the people who build lasting reputations. Those are the people who ultimately create lasting success. So if you've enjoyed this podcast today, again, I encourage you to share, follow the Contractor Truth podcast. Click follow on Spotify, but share it. It's easy to share it with another contractor, even other business owners, even if they're not contractors or a tradesperson you know might benefit from the conversation we've had today. Share it with them, okay? And if you'd like to continue developing your sales, communication, lead generation skills, your systems, check out the Contractor Authority training. You can check it out on Skool. That's SKOOL.com, and just look up Contractor Authority, or the link is in the bio on our Instagram page as well. Hey guys, listen, thanks for spending part of your day with me. I do not take this for granted. I appreciate every listener, every message, every conversation, and every opportunity to help contractors build stronger businesses and better lives. And until next time, keep growing, keep learning, keep serving, and remember, success is built one relationship at a time. Peace out.